India's armed forces are sending a clear and coordinated message on readiness and combat capability as the country marks 1 year of the Pahalgam attack. Large-scale drills and demonstrations are being carried out across multiple locations. In Ferozepur in Punjab, the Indian Army conducted mock drills showcasing ground-level operational preparedness and rapid response capability. In Bhuj in Gujarat, the Army's Air Defence Regiment displayed its formidable L-70 air defence guns, highlighting its ability to counter aerial threats. The Rann of Kutch also witnessed a massive firepower demonstration with L-70 guns, 130mm artillery, T-72 tanks and MMG firing exercises, underlining battlefield readiness. At the same time, in a major aerial exercise, the Indian Air Force conducted takeoff and landing drills on the Purvanchal Expressway in Sultanpur. Fighter jets, including Jaguar, Sukhoi 30 and Mirage aircraft, performed touch-and-go maneuvers on a specially designated airstrip. The two-day drill is aimed at testing highways as emergency runways during war or national crises. A temporary air traffic control system has been set up, traffic has been diverted and security tightened to ensure smooth execution. Together, these exercises underline a larger strategy to enhance flexibility, strengthen rapid response and ensure that India's armed forces remain ready for any challenge. We have Group Captain V.N. Jha, former Indian Air Force officer and aviation expert, now joining us on the broadcast. Group Captain V.N. Jha, thank you so much for being with us here on the broadcast. I'm going to begin by asking a simple, straightforward question. Operation Sindoor was a great opportunity for India to test its own battle readiness and, more importantly, the integration of platforms and weapon systems, both imported and domestically developed.
Very good evening, Krishna. Yes, it is a very hard fact that these moments of escalations to some reason, for some reason, do test the combat capability or combat readiness in specific of various nations we had in India in 2020 in Galwan and here in Pahalgam. Look, any nation must have the flexibility to adapt itself to the situations arising out on that day, in that situation, in that particular area. And in that use, the armed forces, they are the first who are the respondent in most of the cases, whether it is the natural calamity or it is enemy action on the frontiers. So keeping that in the view, I remember in 1979-80, we had a conference in Bangalore in which Indian Air Force had projected to the government of India to have a dual-purpose roads in some of the frontiers where those days, the Air Force setup was not to that numbers what was required. But government had denied this over decades and decades and decades. And it is only in the recent decades that we see a spurt of such facility, the dual use highways, what we call emergency landing facilities, ELF. So those are coming up there and it's a very good sign. And Indian Air Force has taken pride into testing those facilities so that whether it is withstanding the requirements or not. And the requirements are very, very minimal in these. Indian Air Force again had conducted one exercise on papers of examining all national highways, 228 of them, out of which 21 highways were found to be capable of having the dual use, and 12 were cleared by the IF for the emergency landing facility. Out of that 12, there were about 29 sites which were cleared in those days. And today, I believe there are more numbers which is being cleared in the more remote areas. So, what is a specific requirement of Indian Air Force? These roads should be absolutely plain, without any bump, without any hump, without any elevations coming up there, without any obstructions. It should permit the landing at slightly higher impact forces at those places where the Airport Authority of India, they insist that it should be the asphalt come concrete of about at least 10 inches, if not 4 feet deep. And then the two ends of the roads or the ELF are guarded by the roller closure, and they take a caution that we should not directly heading into the sun. So avoid heading of 90-degree or 270-degree. Any other heading is okay. So these are the few things what we see, and we also emphasize that it is away from any obstruction, whether it is high voltage power or it is some elevated road come bridges. The bird activity should be minimal. Enemy activities or disruptive activities of the unfriendly civilians, that should be minimal. The other essential, minimal essential requirement of this ELF. Now coming to what has happened today,
Right.
it's a matter of pride that one more facility in the UP has come. UP already has had many other trials, and as of now, there are many such facility. Lucknow Agra Express, we have seen it happening in 2017. I think it was there. Purvanchal Express, we are seeing now. Ganga Express, we have seen last year. Falodi Jaisalmer has happened much earlier. Barmer, Jalore. You can continue naming. Kharagpur, Balasore. In Bihar also we have got Kishanganj, Islampur. Kashmir we have got the Bij Behra, Chinar. So by and large, all over the country, in most of the remote areas bordering enemy territories, whether it is on the western front or in the northern front, or the areas which are prone to natural disasters. So you can see the entire coastal belt, as well as earthquake prone belt where natural calamities can strike. So in those areas, we have these ELFs onto which both smaller and bigger aircraft can land. Bigger aircraft can bring in all the resources for the relief material, for the extra instruments or equipment which are required to be taken into action, put into action into those. So that is how it is all made up there. There is a national natural disaster plan which guides the deployment of all this equipment. So these are the things in the essential, in brief, that I can mention to you. But in the coming days, as we have more and more such facility available in the various remote areas of the nation, more such facility will be put into the use. But idea is the same basics, that when there is an emergency landing required, like in the wartime, one of the missiles of the enemy, these days there are plenty of missiles which can land with the precision. If one of those missiles make a excavation of your runway where the fighter aircraft which were already airborne, they cannot take off, then you should have something in the vicinity wherein before the fuel finishes in the aircraft, they can make an emergency landing. So such ELF in the vicinity of the Air Force stations are the one which is desired. And second thing is that once you have such things created for yourself, for any aircraft that can make a landing, it needs a minimal of the resources there. One small makeshift, ATC, air traffic control, one makeshift shift of the small transport which can behave, which can work as a fire tender. There could be another one which can also be used for many
Right.
other multi-purpose uses. So this
Right.
is what is the basic minimum.
Okay, fair enough. I also want to ask you, Group Captain Major, India used, really expensive equipment like MiG-29K in Operation Sindoor, and we are looking at a future where there's going to be prolonged, persistent conflict. Can that strategy continue to be used if that's going to be the scenario?
Well, Krishna, this is one emerging area where the Ministry of Defense must have a brainstorming session, because of late in the last few years the drones have shifted the entire battlefield scenario, and the drone also have undergone a very large amount of modifications, value additions into it. So what drones were used just about 5 years or 6 years back, they are today absolutely of no use. They are much more intensive, combat intensive drones which are being used today. So the entire the combat field, whether it is in the vicinity, in the enemy territory, or wherever, that must take a look at the modern facility available. In the drones, it has changed the entire battlefield. We have seen it in Operation Sindhu that you have named. Think of one battle anywhere in the history where no single aircraft has penetrated into the enemy airspace and inflicted the damage that we are seeing here. This is what today's modern technology can do. Your small drones can knock out the enemy radars, enemy air defense system, without being picked up. Even today's drones are coming up, which has got the stealth capability. So these things are coming up there, and on daily basis, these upgradations are going in the technology. So that is one area where we may not have to send either MiG-29 or Mirage or Su-30 or Rafale or LCA into the enemy territory. They will do the work right within our own airspace where we have our dominance into the enemy areas. And that also has made many a thing today. I'm just talking, something which is in the nascent stage. That can we have the concept of an aircraft which is somewhere on the height of the building or on some elevated platform, which only has those equipment which is within the cockpit, but has those weapons which is integrated into this, may have some concealment technology into it, which make it difficult for the enemy radar to pick up, and then from within our own home, from our rooftop, with those equipment, sitting in those equipment or operating those equipment, we can fire the air to air or air to monitor the enemy aircraft actions in the vicinity. So all these are going to come in the future. But yes, as you have made it very clear, Operation Sindoor has opened our eyes that how much we can go into the modernization of our weapon, and how much we can integrate these weapons with the air defense, with the air offense, and our own VAs and VPs protection. So that is where we are right now going through. Our thoughts are going on. I'm not sure. I'm not in the service for last 25 years. So I can't say what is happening in today's war rooms, but these are the areas where the commanders must be scratching their heads as to how to overwhelm the enemy under these conditions. Krishna.
Right. One last thing. All said and done, the aftermath of Operation Sindoor is India's own realization of Atmanirbharta, or self-dependence when it comes to our own defense capabilities. That will be the big takeaway, isn't it?
Absolutely, absolutely. And we don't have to come to Op Sindoor for this. Think of our aircraft carrier. I'm taking you about 4 years, 5 years back, 4 years back. When the second aircraft carrier came, that is our own indigenous technology, and that is the state of the art design and the build-up. And you'll be surprised, about 150 startups, they have contributed into the technology into this aircraft carrier. So take the clue from there, and then thereafter, all these startups, all these recent technologies, the small young men out from the engineering colleges or technical colleges, they have got the capability. So what we are having at the battlefront right now, wherein the drone is going very high upgradation in its technology, and integrated well with the other defense system at various levels. Akash Tir we have already seen functioning in the of Sindoor, and then there are many other layers of the defense capability which are coming up there. Even the guided energy weapons, those are of the order today that it can burn the enemy, drones within seconds. It doesn't have to have more than 1.5 seconds or so. The threat is gone. So that is how where the R&D has to meet the requirements of tomorrow's. We
Okay.
don't have to address the things what was in the past, neither of today, but foresee what is going to happen on the battlefield in the tomorrows, in the years coming up there, and meet those challenges in our labs, at the trial benches, as well
Right.
as at the trial fields.
Fair enough. We will leave it at that. Group Captain V.N. Jha, former Indian Air Force officer and aviation expert. Thank you so much for taking time out to be this year